Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is your weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I'm your host, Dylan Muss, and I have with me the patient Kirkland Patzer. How's it going?
Very good. I'm excited. We got a full house here tonight. This is going to be a fun time.
We do. We have the reagent Taylor Field. How's it going?
It's going good, Dylan. Happy to be here.
And the clown prince of penis, Travis Snell. Welcome to Sidequest. How's it going, my friend?
Good. I'm excited to talk about Outlast. I'm so excited to talk about Outlast. Whatever it's called. This game that we played. I'm excited. All four of us are here. And we've been playing this for the past couple weeks. So I'm excited to get into it. It's, talk about some peni.
Some peni, yeah.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we get a four-man review going on SideQuest. So the fact that this happened for Outlast, which is a game that I haven't heard any other podcast or anyone else talk about, it seems like it's come out.
Well, not good, I guess.
Absolutely no buzz. But here we are, all to talk about it. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
What was the last one? I'm trying to rack my brain, other than like a topic, like a mass, like
I mean, definitely Hogwarts Legacy. I just can't think if there's been one since then.
Because I think it would have just been like Game Awards, stuff like that. But a game, I think Hogwarts Legacy might be the last one.
Because we all played Wonder, but we all played it at different times.
Yeah, different times, yeah.
So we all talked about on SideQuest at different times. So yeah, I can't think of another one.
Look at that.
It is a rarity.
Mm-hmm.
One a year. Hopefully we can do more than one a year.
Yes.
I guess that's what I'm aiming for at this point. But at least we're starting out strong here in March with this one. So we're going to talk all about that. Just a couple quick plugs. Halo, we're on the finale this week, boys. That's correct?
Hell yeah.
Oh, thank goodness.
You got it.
Yeah.
At long
I feel like
last.
Frodo and Sam at the top of Mount Doom with this one.
Definitely. We'll be reviewing that. Next week's episode of SideQuest will be all about Princess Peach Show. I totally forgot what the name
got
of
it.
Princess Peach Show Time.
Hell yeah.
Me and Kirkland will be talking about that, so that'll be fun. It is the season of X, so we have the couple X-Men episodes dropping this week for the new show. We got some news going on.
And the show's out.
Yes, the show's coming out.
For the season, yeah.
You can wishlist my game on Steam. It's called Potion Problem. You can check out our Patreon to get episodes early and ad-free. Good place to listen through all those X-Men episodes if you're getting ready for that season that's coming out here. And what else? Any other shout-outs to mention, my friends?
Either way, whether it's poker or just a regular After 9, there will be an After 9 this Saturday at 6 p.m. PST.
Might be poker.
Okay, it's depending on Taylor. Either way, we're going to do it. And if you don't want to play poker,
Weird way
you
to
can
say
just come and hang out and talk, because there's lots of downtime in poker. So it'll just be regular After 9 with some poker. We've talked about this for like a year and a half now. Like, we're going to do it, and hopefully we're going to. But yeah, if you're a Patreon, phase 2 or higher, call in, come chat with us, come have a good time, talk about movies, games, stuff going on in life. After 9 is always a good time. So that's the only other thing I'd say to plug. So
There you go, March 23rd for that. Okay, let's get into it. So Outlast Trials, this is a game that came out, I think, technically last year in early access, and it's just been plugging away as games do in early access, but as of a couple weeks ago it finally went 1.0 and came to PlayStation and Xbox, and probably not Switch. I don't imagine this is a game that would go there.
great.
But yeah, I mean, this is my first Outlast game. This is my first time jumping in. I know, Travis, it's your first time. You've never played an Outlast game
Never.
before.
I've been wanting to for years, but I just thought, I don't know if this is for me. So
But no, have all of you played both games or just one of them? Tell me your history with the series.
who's starting?
All at
Whoever wants
once.
to go.
Let's all jump in.
I, as the biggest Outlast fan here on the panel, no. So the first
shit.
game was one of those. I don't know about Taylor, but I feel like Kirkland, was it like in the first 3 months of PlayStation Plus for when the PS4 came out? It was somewhere in there, right? It was a free game in that. And I feel like that was in that era where there was not lots of PS4 games out. And it's a game that I liked the idea of it, but I probably wouldn't have played if there was a bunch of massive titles out. But it was that thing of not many exclusives. And I think stuff like Watch Dogs was supposed to be out and got delayed. So it was like a 3 or 4 month window of not much stuff. And that's at least how I got it. Was a free game in the first season. And it's a really fun story. It's one of those that I've said a few times that I really wish that somebody does, maybe one of us one day. Like it's a fun horror. It's not the exact same as like a PT, but it's to those type of levels where it's not as trippy, but it's great on the suspense and the first person view and the claustrophobia you can feel. And the second one I never did because I just heard nothing but disappointing things. And who knows, maybe at this point I maybe might dip my toes back into it because I'm sure it's like cheap now after Trials and it's been so long. But that's all I had heard. So it's kind of one of those things where, well, I didn't pay for the first one, and if the second one's disappointing, if the second one was greatly reviewed, I would have went to it. But I didn't hear much things. But I was always excited by this because that first game, it was I'd say like a sleeper hit where I didn't expect much. Okay, free game, I have nothing to play, and I played through it in a couple weeks, and it was a really great time. And this actually made me want to go back and play it. So that's my history with Outlast.
Kirkland?
Yeah, I first experienced this game. I believe the first one came out in 2013, and it probably would have been like that summer of 2013 when I first heard about the game. I think I saw like Markiplier or something on YouTube doing like a playthrough of it, and which is random because I feel like I don't normally like just watch videos like that, but it just like went on the algorithm, and then I saw it and I was like, this looks so terrifying. I ended up picking it up, and I had it on Steam, and it was one of those games that I would never play on my own. I would only play if I had like friends around or something, because it was so terrifying, and I was just so interested with the story as it went along.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Outlast has an underrated just lore about it. It's really fucked up and scary, and yeah, it's just really, really, I think, well told with how much the game, I guess, lack thereof, focus on telling a story like that. Like, it's usually through like blueprints and stuff that you find, but the gameplay is super intense, and I think that they totally nailed it with the whole like camcorder setup. Like, it makes it that much scarier when you really can't see like 10, 15 feet in front of you. It's just like pure darkness. Then you see eyes glowing up as someone's coming at you. So it really just stood out as one of like the scariest games I had played probably up until that point. And yeah, I really, really love that first game. The second one I've played a little bit of, but I never really fully dove into it. It's got some like weird boat mechanics where you have to like
boat mechanics.
Well, it's like not really a boat, it's more of a raft, but like it really just
Still.
feel like I feel like it just is annoying when you have to deal with
Sounds clunky. Just
yeah,
hearing that.
exactly. And it really breaks up kind of the momentum, I think, of what happens in the game. Like, I remember the opening being very intense and scary because I don't know, they're just good at doing that and spooking you, but the overall gameplay just wasn't as good as from what I remember. But I never got too far into it, so maybe I shouldn't judge that one on its own. But yeah, I remember the announcement for Outlast Trials and just kind of what it was, and it really blew me away. You know, I was saying I was excited to play it with Taylor, not Travis, because apparently he wasn't an Outlast fan at the time. But yeah, here it is, and we're playing together and talking about it. So this is really exciting. It's been like a full circle thing. Like I said, 2013 would have been when I first played it. So over a decade ago, I found out about this franchise, and here we are talking about it. So it's fun.
I was gonna ask quickly with the first game, and it seems with Trials, it's like a one set location. Two, you're talking about you're on a raft. Was it a set location, or were you just out and about?
It's well, like it's outside, right? You're not in a asylum, so
Right
it's
away, it feels
somewhat-
like that's not right. like
I know-
based with the first game, that feels like a weird way. Like you should do like, oh, here's another wing of the asylum or something.
Yeah.
Because even with this game, I'm not sure if there's outside levels we haven't got there, but I feel like it's primarily in the asylum, and that's the
yeah,
the
no,
context,
exactly.
so-
The Trials definitely pulls from what the first game is, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they connect in some way. But the second one, like the opening, it's like a helicopter crash, and you like land in a quarry, and then you come out, you come out, and it's just like really fucked up culty type events going on. A lot of tall grass, farmland sort of areas. So you're just kind of like, from what I remember, in that little one terrain. And I think they still do a good job at keeping it like claustrophobic in the sense that like you really can't get out. And yeah, once you keep going down that road, it's just more and more, you're just more and more screwed. But I don't know, maybe Taylor's played more of the second game than me. Have you jumped on that one, Taylor?
I have played only a little bit of the second one,
Okay.
but as far
So
as
no.
it goes for the, just a little bit. The first game, yeah, I'm with you, Kirkland. Except I did not hear about it at all in 2013 until it would have been October when I was on Steam, and I remember I was still living back in Vancouver Island actually, and I was looking and trying to scour Steam because they always had these really cool like scary games. I was feeling like I really want a scary game, and I saw Outlast was on there. And I watched the trailer. I thought, okay, this has definitely hooked me. And so I bought it and I played it. And just the first 5 minutes, that game it was so, luring and just like tempting. You want to explore, you want to do more. And I just remember being absolutely terrified at how it set the stage for the first little bit. And it's a very basic game, but it did a great job at really really just delivering and taking something that I feel like has been done a few other times, whether it's like Amnesia or those types of other titles. I feel like Outlast really stands on its own and is a very very unique kind of experience, both horror and exploring and just running around and that sort of stuff. So that was always just one of my favorite kind of like old horror games. Now I guess now it's been a decade, which is crazy to think about. Jump ahead a couple years when Outlast 2 was coming out. I remember I was in Toronto at the fan expo that they had there, and they had all the TVs up, and they were just big time advertising Outlast 2. They were really pushing it, and I was watching gameplay of other people playing it there, and that's when I first kind of saw like, okay, yeah, it's open farmland. It's very different from the first one in that regard. But I never really buckled down and really made the commitment to buy it. I was so. But I've tried it, but that's about it. I just never had any kind of pull or allure to it like that first one. Then you jump to this one where the multiplayer aspect is a huge factor, and I'm so glad that we all got to play it together. And I'm excited to kind of break this one down and discuss a few of the finer things with this game. Just being back in the world though it's wonderful.
And so the second one had co-op, is that correct? It added multiplayer?
No.
I remember one of you saying that when we were playing the other night, but maybe I misheard.
Not
Kirkle's not a true fan, so he would lie to you like that. I would have never told you it had multiplayer, but no, I don't recall that, because I think that was if it was, maybe it was like a very minor thing, but I think that's why this broadened the hype for Trials, because it was that like, oh, they're doing multiplayer. Okay,
I
let's
was thinking like, man, a bigger open area, like maybe that was the idea in terms of going co-op. You want to go to a bigger area, but it sounds like that wasn't the case. So it is kind of a weird pivot, especially if you really established like a very specific tone with the camcorder, the asylum. Like you're going for a very specific type of horror there, and so to take that kind of pivot's a weird decision. So I'm glad that they've gone back to that in a way, but there's still like what feels like an outer area. But I think that's one thing I love about the aesthetic of this game is that even if you're at a carnival, it's like a carnival like in a fucking warehouse. Like there's like a roof above you, and you can never really see out. I think that adds a lot to it, making it feel claustrophobic. It's always dark. It's always terrifying. It never feels like you're gonna escape, which once again works well with the co-op factor, where you're kind of just loading in different runs with your friends, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I remember a big question I had when I heard that they were making a asymmetrical like co-op type thing. Well, I guess it's not asymmetrical, just 4v PvE type setting. But the ones that I was thinking of in comparison to it was the ones like Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th, those types of games. And just in those games, there is ways to kind of fight back. I feel like, okay, you get stuns and like bottles in this game, but like you really just feel so vulnerable, and I think they really nailed that, because I really thought they were going to have to make a lot of changes. Now, originally I thought it was actually going to be a PvP type thing like those other games are, where someone is the enemy, and I was just really puzzled on how that was going to go, but I am happy with what we got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense considering that, you are playing against NPCs here, and like they're not that smart. You know, it's like if you're in a dark corner, like they will not see you. I guess there are exceptions to that, but you can outrun most of them just like in a one-on-one situation. But yeah, I think that for me, I think I also have Outlast from that PlayStation Plus thing. So it's downloaded somewhere on that console.
It's time.
Or in my library, but
time.
I've never jumped in. Because, you know, when I did that, I wasn't really into the genre, but now I play a lot of horror things. I had a lot of fun with you guys playing Texas Chainsaw last year. So it just seemed perfect, and knowing that I think for all of us, we were all kind of like, I'll get it if you get it. And then we all said that, and then we eventually all just got it. And then it worked out perfectly.
Fuck it, right, Taylor?
Yeah. Fuck it.
But yeah, let's talk about this one some more. So, I mean, one, I get you kind of answered it in a way, but I'm curious how close this is to, I guess, particularly that first game, because that's where most of our experience is. In terms of, like, the setting we've talked about, that's different. But in terms of, like, the gameplay and how, like, puzzly it is and kind of being split into these kind of smaller little levels, is the first game like that, or is it more of like you're just expanding one asylum and you're unlocking new areas, but it's kind of like one continuous mission?
Yeah, I feel like some of the things you have to do are definitely like pulled from the game. Like I remember specifically like spinning those valves, you know,
stuff like that, the generators, like
exactly,
little, like if they're not exact, it's like very similar to
But the game overall, although you do kind of backtrack through certain common areas, it's mostly just a linear story, and that same thing that was going on in the second one. So this one, it's kind of got like that open hub, like the plain area, which is, some of them are actually pretty big, which I feel like is a change compared to some other games like that, where it's a co-op horror game. Survival.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's why I said it's similar to not the exact same vibe, but Resident Evil 7, where it's like you start in that house and then you slowly go out longer and longer. And like, it's not big spoilers, but like the first game definitely takes place like, it's like an asylum that used to run and it's like kind of haunted now, right? So like not the exact same. So this feels like this is the asylum up and running at its peak of like busy people around there. Like you said, if there's a carnival, why is that happening? I don't know, but it is happening. Where this is, it's run down. There's just like, it's kind of rumors and scuttlebutt, and you're going in there to go find out what's happening. But that's where it's more that it's linear as far as you start in one building, you work to another room. And yeah, the hiding, I'd say different. The little things along the way you do is different. Or sorry, hiding is the same. Little things you do is the same. It's just definitely more story based, which is fun because there's a couple things in there. They leave like the evidence file. So there's like little things, but that's more just unlocking the mystery of what happened there. And then you learn about, okay, they did all these trials on people. So this is kind of like a mini origin story in the sense that you're seeing all this stuff went down. And even though that game was pretty dark and twisted, that's one thing I'd say. I think they upped how dark and twisted it is, because there's the stuff that they're showing in here is some of the most extreme violence I've seen in a video game, where the first one had a lot of that, but not the nudity, the pure blood. It was they've definitely leveled that up quite a bit. Again, I can't speak on the sequel, but as far as the first one, that was a bit more of the I don't know what's the best way to describe, just the aura of being scared, that kind of jump scare moment, stuff like that, where this is definitely going for some shock, almost kind of torture porn and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, that was one of the first things that jumped up to me, is just how Saw this feels, and obviously the part of like going in and doing a little mission feels that way too. But even like finding keys inside of bodies, like, a lot of it feels very similar to Saw. But based on what you guys are telling me, it's like the first game didn't really have that tone or vibe to it at all. So I think that's cool, but maybe it makes more sense for the co-op part.
I would argue it does have that, because they're like, no spoilers, but there's a scene in the game where your character just gets like their finger chopped off, and then the rest of the game, like, you just don't have a finger, like you're holding your camcorder and it's just like blood. So, but definitely from where it is now,
up the butt,
yeah, from where it is now, it's just like a little baby flower, compared to this behemoth that the game's grown into. And I do remember actually some shocking things at the start of the second game as well. So it felt like just since the first one, they've been really turning it up and thinking about how much more fucked up and crazy can we make these games and stories, because the shock factor is at an all-time high, I think.
It's probably a good comparison what you said there, Dylan, as far as Saw. Like, the first movie is just, hey, well, this dude saw his leg off. And then 2 movies later, it's like all your body parts are going to twist off if this guy doesn't forgive you. That's where it definitely feels like that sort of progression, where the first one definitely was gnarly, but this is just like obscene amounts of just like, man, like it's I can kind of get how this might not end up becoming like a mainstream game, because I feel like that amount of violence might turn some people off right away, right? Like, I think some people might enjoy like the spook jump scare game, but this is a different level a little bit. So
yeah, I could see a lot of that element not being like overstaying its welcome if we weren't playing with friends. Like, if I was just playing the game by myself and I'm seeing sometimes the same cutscene over and over again, and it's just like this gross thing of a cop shoving like a taser up someone's ass, like over and over again, it becomes a bit too much. But since we're playing in a lobby together, I think it's a good laugh. Have any of you really played like any single player? And if so, like, do you automatically get queued with someone, or can you do like full on single player?
I've done some of the single player, and basically it gives you respawns instead of like the revive factor. So you basically, if you die, you go back to where your dead body was, you pick up your loot and carry on. You can choose to queue with other people. I've done that as well. So
yeah, I don't think you've done a ton of the single player, but like, would you recommend this game from a single player perspective? I think for me, with how the way these puzzles are designed, I don't think I'd like it that much. Were it not like, I don't know, this puzzle makes no sense and is very unintuitive, but there's 4 of us, so like one of us will figure it out, and then we can spread out and look for cute clues, that kind of thing. And so I'm sure single players like maybe reduce the amount of things you have to do, but I think for me, I would probably get a lot less mileage out of this game if I was playing alone.
It It definitely changes the map based on how many people are in a group. So if you remember the snitch level, for example, I did that when I first put up the game. I did that one by myself, solo, and there was just one generator. There was just a very much more refined route to go about doing this solo. And then when I tried it again with a group and with you guys, all of a sudden there's multiple generators to deal with, and so they've added a few extra things in there. Playing it solo, it took me at least like 30 minutes plus. And then the next time I did it, I know I did it with you guys, but I think I did it a third time with a group online, and that took me like 10 minutes, like really, really quick. And I understand that you want to be replaying these missions, get the better grades to unlock more of those special dollar things so you can keep upgrading your characters to eventually do that reagent mission or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So
I guess I should also put this up here since we're still early on. Like, I don't really know where the spoiler section wall goes in a review like this, so I think we're just gonna talk. And if you don't want to get spoiled on something, like, I don't know if there's much we can do, but I also don't think we'd ruin much of the experience by talking about our way through it. But one thing that we were trying to figure out when we were all playing on Saturday was that it seems like we went through like all the levels, and then you kind of have to reset with these tokens, reset your character, so to speak, and then you unlock like the next tier. Have any of you done that yet? And do you like go back and do the same levels at that point, or is there new levels, or maybe they're like remix versions of those same levels?
did any of you guys like try it or actually do that?
No, I meant to do the whole like relapse or whatever, but
I went in, and so basically you go back to the mansion that you start off in the tutorial at the beginning with, and you basically have to do two things with these documents, and then survive all of the monstrosities and whatnot to get your person back out into civilization. This is where you actually do get a few endings, but it seems like depending how many characters that you, because you unlock those reagent coins or points, depending how many people you actually reagent, then you will unlock those extra tiers with the different locations or whatever stuff. Like all you have to do to unlock the next difficulty stage that we were trying to get to, we have to all get a reagent out there. But I realized, okay, I'm going to have to go back and replay some of these missions and unlock more stuff. I've already gotten a few like of my tier 3 perks, for example, but I need the rigs and the items like you were using, Travis, because that reagent mission is really, really difficult, especially solo. It's very claustrophobic and very, like you're dealing with some of the heavy hitter bosses that we've faced in a very, very claustrophobic setting. Yeah, it's really, really difficult. Not much room to run around, and these guys are dealing like 2 hits and you're dead. It's very, very tough. So
that's what the single player game or the first games were like though. Like you didn't really have a health bar in those games. It was big enemies grab you and snap your neck, and then little enemies 2 hits and you're dead. So it seems like they're keeping it similar in that sense.
how long did that take you about, Taylor?
To do the
40.
mission,
yeah, like that, like the reagent thing, like when you go and do the mission again.
because
Like,
I definitely did not complete it. I got I got like halfway, and then I made a mistake, and I was so pissed. But I spent like a half an hour in there trying to do
You
it.
don't like
And I
lose
thought
your
I was getting to
tokens.
the
You
end.
can just like try it again.
You don't lose your tokens. You can keep redoing it. Thank God.
Because that was one thing we bumped into where it's like, okay, it seems like to progress at this point, our group of 4 all has to go do this solo mission now, which seemed like a really weird choice, but maybe that was just happening because I don't have enough tokens yet, and so I couldn't go in there, and maybe so it held back the whole lobby. I don't know if
It's
that was
all
what was
solo.
happening. That is such a
Yeah.
freaking weird idea.
I don't love that choice. I really don't, because I just felt like with us, and I guess it's different with everybody, but with us, and we're fine because we went back, we did other things, but just like killed the momentum of we're progressing, going next, and then it's like, well, now we gotta go. And if you're saying half an hour, it's like if it'd be like this quick 5-minute thing, okay, I'm gonna go do it, get a file destroyed. But if it's like a full-on mission, it's like that. I did the opening tutorial, and that was fine, but it's like I don't need, and because there's 3 other type of tier levels, it's like, do I need to do that after 2 more times again to go through this mansion?
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not a fan of that choice. I haven't done it yet. And I will definitely do it before we play it again. So that night we're not waiting around. But even then, it doesn't sound like, Taylor, you're not even ready to go yet, right? So it's like you have to complete that before we can go to the next one. So
you have to complete that before going to the next one.
Weird
Otherwise,
choice.
you got to replay those trials, get better grades to get better rewards to handle it.
Yeah, especially
survive
since
it.
that level's hard. That adds on too. It's not like, okay, just go spend a half an hour. It's go spend half an hour, hopefully beat it that time, not having to redo it multiple times. Like it's kind of weird.
Unless I'm just bad. I mean, you guys might have smooth sailing to get
You're
through
better
it.
than me at the game, so I would have to imagine that there's some difficulty going on with it. But Yeah, I guess that was one thing I wanted to say is that like if all the levels we went through already, like that was like what 2 or 3 nights of playing.
Yeah.
Not a ton of time. Like if it's just those levels but harder, as we like risk prestige essentially, and then go back through them again. I feel like the game actually doesn't really have a lot of content to it. That would be my perspective on it. It doesn't seem like there's a lot, especially for a multiplayer game that ideally they want you to keep playing. So I don't know that, but I kind of have to report back on that once I've actually done this prestige and see what other things unlock, or even if it is the same levels, but there is new areas and whatnot. That would be fine too if it's reusing that content in an interesting way. I mean, even the one we did the weekly challenge after we ran out of other levels to do, and we had done that level before, but goddamn, doing it at a higher difficulty was brutal. We lost it twice in a row, and then we just called it a night there. So we still have to go back and do that. So I am excited for the higher difficulty because I feel like there were certain mechanics. Like I was never worried about stepping on glass the whole time we played, but now in this higher difficulty, like every step, I'm being careful not to make any noise and really play optimally in that way, which is fun and then also chaotic when you have 3 friends with you.
I would just, and then again, someone's maybe further along and they'd say, no, that's the way it is. But I would just be surprised because when you go to the terminal, those 3 other things, they just look like they have different iconography and art.
Yeah.
So I just feel like if you were to go, okay, there's, let's just say level 1, then there's 3 more difficulties that are harder. Why wouldn't you just kind of have that? Why would you even make those 4? Just make it like you can't, like, here's the level, here's the notches. You can't go to that notch till you get this level. Yeah. So that's why I'm hoping that there's more to it. Like you said, even if it's the same level, but there's something varied different, that's fine. And that's fine too, because there were a couple of those that we did that I just feel like we'd cruise through, right? And if we did keep playing them over and over, we would just, I think, eventually get A's on them all once we know everything. We got more rigs and stuff. So I'm fine if there's a lot more of, hey, this is the same level, but a little bit more difficult, because like how many times on Texas Chainsaw on Friday 13th we're playing the 3 same maps, right? And just varying degrees. Yeah. So, but that's where I'm interested, because that's where it's odd. Why would you make 3 separate menus for, the same missions, right? Or 4 separate menus for the same missions. So I don't know.
That's also something that I would expect a game like this that's all multiplayer for them to keep focusing on, maybe like a seasonal like type thing where they have, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of how like sometimes like a battle pass type situation works. Now I'm not saying I want a battle pass in this type of game, but just like a reoccurring game mode or like a new map or like something like that alternating. Because that one difficult mission that we tried twice and failed, like I'm pretty sure that was just a weekly challenge. So it like takes what the previous thing is and then adds the difficulty multipliers or whatever you'd call them. I think some of them were like just all the doorways were like barricaded. Obviously a lot more enemies going on and just things like that. I would expect them to keep maybe pushing that along, because I think they would need in the long run something more than just a weekly. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's worth saying, like, how much was this game? Like $50 Canadian?
Yeah.
Relative to like an $80 thing. So it is a cheaper game. So if it does have less content in the way, that's fine. And I mean, I still think we're going to get quite a few weekends out of this. I definitely want to do those higher difficulties and try some of the harder content as well. And hopefully there is new things in there. And then hopefully they add new levels on top of that. I mean, once again, this is assuming that we have played them all now, and then they're just going to get harder. But I could be wrong on that too. So I have to report back on that. I guess we should mention this too. So this game has online, of course, play, but it also has cross-play, which you can do. Cross-play is always a bit janky no matter what game you're playing. And this was at first, but once you connect with someone, once you find out where your friend code is, I don't know why they always make it so hard to find like what your code is to connect with people with cross-play. Once we found it, added each other, it became pretty easy, and we didn't really have any issues. No one ever disconnected, and obviously this game's been in early access, so it has been out for a while, but not on the consoles we're playing it on. And so we had 2 Xbox players, 2 PlayStation players, and it worked well. And I didn't really notice any glitch at all in this entire game, so it seems like really polished, which is nice to have.
Yeah, we never had a shutdown like, oh, I'm done. I gotta like give me 5 minutes to boot back up again. There, it's just that initial get together, because there's so many times where it's like I can see Taylor who's on Xbox, and then Taylor who's on Xbox can see Kirkland online, and then when I pull Kirkland, it says he's offline. I would understand if it's the 2 PlayStation guys see each other, 2 Xbox, and maybe there's some glitch, but it's like the weird things when you're setting up like who can see what, and luckily you can figure it out. I don't know what you would do if it was a situation like that where me and Kirkland want to play together. Let's say it's just me and Kirkland, right? And I can't see him. You're like kind of hooped there. So I'm not sure if other people are having that issue, if there's only 2, but at least with us being 4, you can kind of make some weird inspiration web to grab one another. But yeah, it's even then the way it like. I even getting in there, you guys got in there and you had to explain, okay, you hit triangle, you go there. So now that I know to do it, it's fine, but it's not like the most seamless. But luckily, like you said, I didn't have any crashes. We're not having buggy. We're not like having people drop out mid-match or go to a different lobby. So that's a good thing. And even the load times aren't terrible either. I feel like when we boot up, like I know the menu and cutscene is like a load time in a sense, but I appreciate that is, it's not just a screen, right? It's not just sitting there watching, or some fact like this is Ted and he was this guy who like ate kitties, and like, no, it's just like we get these things that, like you said, Dylan, as us together. The best way to describe this game is like it feels at times like almost like what we do at Halloween here in October is like the corn maze or those like murder houses where you can sign waivers and scare. Like it feels like kind of an amusement ride where you get literally locked in and you're going down and you're seeing a bunch of torture, nudity, complete blood, and then you open up, going to mission. So I really like that setup of we have a good time with it, and that's one thing like you're talking about. I haven't done it either. I'll do it to do that mission. Taylor's talking about the reagent, but this is a game that I don't think I would want to play alone in the sense of just like maybe because I started off with all you guys, but I feel like I at least would have to have one other person with me to have that fun. And if you're playing alone and enjoying it, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but for me, it's like such a good time. And even the way of like, hey, I'm doing this, what are you doing? I feel like there's many times like we play COD, but I could still drop in Warzone and kind of do my own thing, right? Where this, I feel like you definitely at least need, especially those harder ones, one person. Like I could not imagine playing a game with 3 other people and not coordinating anything, in the really hard ones. So that's one thing I'd say for sure. I agree with that. It's definitely better if you even have one buddy, do it with them because you'll have a really good time, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing I really enjoy is what you're saying there of how, there's a pro and con to it. Like sometimes like a menu is always going to be quicker than doing all this other stuff. But I like that you have this little travel sequence where you go in one of those tubes, go sit in your chair, and the chair like moves, in this kind of trolley thing to go to the level. You go through that, it pops you through. And then when the level ends, it's kind of like the opposite of that. So there's always this like continuous movement to it. So it does make it feel like you're kind of in that world. And I like the hub. And we'll talk about that hub, the little break room there after this quick break. Okay, we are back. So yeah, an interactive menu is always fun, hanging out with your buddies. I think my favorite part is that you can do arm wrestling and you can play chess with your friends, which is great if someone's like, doing some perk stuff or they're changing their appearance or someone's picking the level or someone has to go do something for a bit. You're not just sitting on a menu. You guys can like mess around and do stuff and you can still run around and do all your moves and whatnot. So I don't know if there's much for me to say there, but I do really like the hub area in this. And I think it adds to, like, this game is a scary game. It's a horror game, but it is very cheesy and over the top at times. And I think that adds to it as well, that you can just be doing an arm wrestling and then Kirkland's over here like smashing his fist on the table for no particular reason. And like, I don't know, people will just be doing weird stuff. Like there's other people who aren't like actual players, but just NPCs who are like looking up at screens, like these other patients, I suppose, that are kind of midway through their process and their brains are totally fried. So I like that from the world building part. It's a fun little hub area.
You can decorate your room if you want. Something I never do in video games. So
it's
if you want to do that,
so I'm not spending my coins on that. I'm saving it for my character.
No, I agree. I like the size. I like the vibe. You get in there, just it right away. You feel okay. I know what this game is going for, and it's and usually even like the other players we bump into, I feel like they kind of keep. Is it 8, like 10 people in a lot? Like it's not many people, so it's like an overcrowded room. So I enjoy. I don't know why. I enjoy going back there. You got your pharmacist. You got now the shady dame. I like it that. Luckily, they also put like little indicators by them too, so when they do pop up, they're there. So no, I like the vibe of the hub and everything. So
yeah, I think they did a good job with that just little central hub area and keeping the vibe of like you are a prisoner / patient in Murkoff. Like you have your different room. Every time you kind of load into that area, you're in like a different random room because everybody just has a location. Haven't spent much time in others' rooms to admire. I know Taylor pimped out his room there. I'll have to come check out his wallpaper sometime soon. But
check that out.
no, I like it. I like also that you have different currencies for like your gameplay things, so you're not like sacrificing your coins to, pimp out your room. Like it is kind of separate in that
Yeah,
sense.
I
If
like
you
that.
wanna,
Good call.
if you want to get more, just I don't know, appearance upgrade points for your character, get some swag. You're not sacrificing getting like a really like big gameplay changing perk or something like that. Because now that we've gotten like some perks, I'm just like, man, like I don't know how you would have done like certain missions, especially that harder one without a slide, without those like base necessities, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Taylor, do you want to break down the RPG mechanics, how that works in this game?
Well, you have 3 different things. You have like your tool, something medical, I think it is, and then I can't remember what the last one was. Again, I haven't
Skill, maybe?
skill. I think
For the
it is
loadout part,
actually.
is that what
Yeah,
you're talking about?
yeah, and I haven't bought any of them. I've just been buying perks. That's kind of been my go-to because I see some of those perks have, and it's like, man, these are pretty good. These are pretty beneficial to survival. And I don't know if some of the rigs are consumables or some of the
I still
stuff
have
in
not
the
bought a
loadout
rig
is.
because I want to save my green bucks or whatever those are called for,
Yeah.
for the
Rig.
therapies.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you just recharge it. Well, you didn't buy a rig because you bought the equipment from the Dame, right? Shea
No, I
Dame
bought
or
both.
You guys
whatever?
both, I think.
Oh, you bought both.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why when I told you
You
guys,
have
like,
the
I know you're.
slippers, and then you have the rig.
Yeah, I know you guys were memeing on me, but like the healing rig was really good in those because you get it, and then I'd say it's like I never got to look at it. It gives you a countdown. Luckily, when it gets like to the 60 seconds or whenever you try to use it, I think it does. I think it's at least 2 minutes. I'll say it could be longer, but it could be at least 2 minutes. So mine's a heal, and you just open a little bottle, and then these things come out and goes into your body. And you get about 2 minutes every time you try to use it, which I like. It's not says it's available. It'll say 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then even too when you get close, it'll give you a 10-second timer down. So it's like, okay, if I can time it to that, and then you get the rig recharger. So really, it can be. I won't say OP because I think those harder levels are, and of course, I'm not keeping all rig recharges, right? Because I still need to get an antidote that. But if you have a rig and a recharger, you're good. You're set for a little bit. That caught me out of a lot of situations. So
Yeah.
I
How
bought
much does
that
it
right
heal
away.
you? Is it like one peg?
Full.
Or is it your, oh, wow. That's really good.
Yeah, it's a full heal. If it's not a full heal, then it's like I'd say 70, 80%. Every time I feel like I've done it, it's got me all the way up. So
That's
what
weird,
happens
'cause it
when
also
you-
just like opens room in your inventory in theory because you don't have
Yes.
to carry medicine around. So I
Yeah.
like that.
What happens when you leave or you complete your match? Do you have it and you have to recharge it going to the next match?
it's just like it just starts off the beginning of every game. It's already there. You could
So rigs
That's
aren't
not
technically
true.
like
It doesn't start. It
consumable.
doesn't start full. At the
Does it
start. 'Cause
not?
I have a rig too, and it like it's like an ultimate ability if you think of like something like Overwatch.
Oh,
Like
okay.
you build up to it, but like from the start of the game, like Travis said, it like I guess it's like a 2-minute timer or something like that. So the-
Okay, I feel
the
like mine
respawn
was
thing.
like my
I guess the
icon's
healing
always
you might not
blue.
notice because you don't need it like in the
Yeah,
first minute
maybe.
usually.
like you can upgrade them as well, which I've been doing on mine. I have the stun one. It's
Yeah,
actually like
it's nice.
really really nice because yeah, it's basically just like a better bottle that'll stun them, and I've been upgrading it now so that I have it. It does like a extended duration. One of the upgrades is that you just start the game with it maxed out. So maybe Travis has that perk like already.
I
unless you haven't
could,
been
yeah, because I
upgrading it.
just, but like Dylan said, because it's a heal, I don't use it right away. I just feel like whenever I start the game, because
Whenever
is
you
your
need it,
rig,
it's there.
yeah,
it's
is
like a
your
little
rig,
red thing. Yeah, on
but,
the
but is
bottom
yours
right.
not colored, or is it like, because I
It's
feel
colored.
like, but how do you know it's, because I feel like when mine's
Oh,
not
sorry,
charged.
that's what you're saying. So at the start of the game, yeah, it's not colored, and then it like builds up to.
Okay, I feel like mine's always, I feel like when I start
Okay.
it's blue
Maybe
right
it is
away.
different then.
And it could just be the health one, right? Because like Dylan says, you're
Yeah.
not going to pop it up. Like, you shouldn't be popping in a minute. And maybe that hard mission
If you
that we
accidentally
play last.
just chop your own arm off, it's good to have that. I guess.
Yeah.
No, they're actually like really really effective, especially like Travis was saying with the rig rechargers, because
Mm-hmm.
you could technically have 2 of them on you. So there's been a few times in like the final push to the exit that we've been doing, and I got a rig recharger. I got the one in my hand. I might even have like a brick or something on me. Like it's really nice to kind of chain those, and especially now that I've got the extended stun duration, like. You know, the big whatever her lady the lady with the bird is called. There's been many times that I've just kind of like chain CC'd her where like she's just stuck there for like 10 seconds, like waits, maybe even longer, and then you just like throw it again, and it makes you a lot more powerful because yeah, if you don't have that, they're just gonna grab you and chop you up.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I should get one of those. What do you guys know? Did you see what the other 2 were? The stun, the heal, and there was 2 more, right?
Yeah. No,
Maybe one's like a
I'm not
speed
sure.
boost or stamina or something.
Probably, or like make less noise or something.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe a
So-
stealth one and a speed one.
It'd be nice
Yeah.
if we all had like one of each, and then we all can be the ultimate
But then Dylan wouldn't be giving me his rig rechargers, you know.
Yeah, I have
can
been
hog those.
donating.
Yeah, you could have this. Dylan has like 5. Yeah, you have this. You have this.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I'm in the health because I just feel like I'm making risky plays and taking a lot of damage. So I need it for later on. And as the first person to die in the game, I think that was proven right. So anytime there's a heal, I'm like, I need.
You're
that.
dying a lot those first few games.
I was, but now I'm not. Since I got that rig,
You're
I feel
not
like
now,
it's
no.
shifted. I'm doing a lot of the med first aid thing. So that's why I was like, because I'm too impatient sometimes with stealth games because it is like, oh, you can just wait. But I'm like, no, I got to get this thing right now. I'm going to run and I'm going to take some damage, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But
I was that way until
we didn't lose those missions that I
was
died
that
in.
way until we got to the higher difficulty. I'm like, okay, now I have to crouch behind this car. I can't just risk taking 3 bars of health from this guy who spawns in the first minute.
So if we're all in a real life and death situation, we're all together in a crazy fucked up asylum. Travis, you're gonna be like, I can't fucking take it anymore. We're just gonna run out there, just
I don't
close our
know.
position.
We should definitely do something like that in the future. I'm not saying one of those like houses where you got to sign like the waiver, even though I'd be
I'm
fine
not
with
doing
that. But
shit.
I'd love to see what we do in real life. Because I don't know, like in a video game, it's different because you can't. You're just gonna start over. But in real life, I think, especially now with kids, I'm gonna be a lot more.
I'm going to the barrel. I'm not.
I
I'm
think
not leaving
taking
that.
a lot of
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, the stealth mechanics I think are pretty solid so far from someone who plays a lot of stealth games, a lot of Dishonored and stuff, which is also a first person stealth game. But I like there's just so many things that you can hide in or under, like beds or barrels or cupboards, desks, like all these things, and so it makes the maps feel pretty lively because every room has like all sorts of different things. But then there's fucking enemies hidden inside these closets half the time. Those guys get me all the time. And the darkness, just like how you're pretty much invisible in the darkness as long as you didn't make a bunch of noise to get into it in the first place. That's always intense. In the same way it is in Texas Chainsaw, where sometimes an enemy is like right above you, but they just somehow don't see you in this like tall grass. It feels the same way in this game, where it can be really intense when an enemy just like walks right in front of you.
There's
the
also
glass
instances though where like certain enemies have night vision on them. Like I don't know if you guys notice a few of those enemies. I don't know if it's mostly just for
Oh, is that
like
the Psychosis guy? Does he have that?
because
Because I feel like he's noticed me sometimes when I'm like, you should not have seen me.
no, I think
I haven't
there's,
noticed
like,
anyone.
And he
like
has
that.
something on his
Okay.
head. So maybe
There's,
he is
like,
one of them.
there's like past patients that I guess have just like gone insane that have like the same night vision rig. I think it might
Oh,
be just
do you
in
mean like
areas.
the clones, like where it's like a fake you or me that comes
See,
out
not
of the
even
elevator?
clones. That like yes, there is that, but I feel like most of the time the clones don't use the night vision. Like it has been some enemies I've noticed that are walking
I feel like the
through,
clones
and you
can
can
always see me from my perspective.
Yeah.
I
I'm
just
getting
like to
better.
run away
You are.
from them at this point.
Yeah, I'm getting better at eluding them now because the first few, that is one of the best mechanics.
That's an amazing mechanic. Yeah.
It's so good because even now that we know what's happening, you still never know. Now, luckily, I feel like we're always checking, like, hey, you buy me. Like, the second we see someone a little bit just walking slowly, it's like, hey, you buy me. But those first 2 nights when, for people that don't know, if you're playing the game or you haven't played the game, it'd be us 4 together, and then all of a sudden I'll be hiding out, and then there'll be Taylor right beside me and be like, oh, hey, what's going on? And he'll just walk beside me, and then he'll just gut you and stab you. And it's a complete clone copy of, could be Dylan, Kirkland, Taylor, who's ever playing with you. So that's the other thing. It's like you got all the big stuff, but you got these people out of nowhere. And sometimes, luckily, like I said, now we're trying to talk and figure out, but those first few nights, I'm not thinking Kirkland's just going to straight up knife me. And
Yeah.
those are the worst ones because the other ones, like you duck, you could be prepared, a bottle, but they'll just walk, and it's not a big thing. It's not a jump scare. It's not anything. They're just walking around in a sense of like, it's very, very happy they did that.
The
It's
first time it
fun.
happened was terrifying.
Yeah,
And I
because
just
we
love
got,
it
what are
when-
you doing
when
to
Travis
me?
is like, Dylan, like, did you see this thing here? Come pick this up. I'm like, dude, I'm nowhere near you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like a great horror movie when you're like, oh my
Yeah.
god, like that, again. That's why Sony, they need to invest and make a movie. Like that's such a cool, fun moment of your. That's not Dylan. Oh, and then those first 2 nights, it was too late. You're getting gunned. There goes a bar of my health, and damn,
I love too how it's not like in the tutorial that's even a thing too. So
Yeah.
like you guys said, like I'm like talking to Taylor, like Taylor, come through here, and he's just like totally in a different area. The next thing you know, you're getting shanked by who you thought was your buddy. The best one in my mind was I think I was running around a corner with Travis, and then right out of a door just came like a version of my own character, and then just started like walking behind Travis, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I realized what was going on. Because I didn't see my name at first. It's just like another character, so maybe I assumed it was like Dylan or something. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I think that is my character. And then, because like you said, they don't always just stab you right away too. Like they'll literally just be walking around, get
Yeah,
comfortable with you, and then
It
stab.
doesn't look like they run or crouch, so
No,
you
it's
can
just
kind of pick up on them, but it makes it so it doesn't feel as frantic as like a chainsaw lady running at you.
It reminds me of It Follows. They move the same way as It Follows with
Yeah.
that slow saunter where it's like you can't escape them, but they can still gain up on you. But yeah, the key thing is just run. Now, luckily, it's like the second I see, even if I see one of you guys and I'm not 100% sure, I'll make some distance, and then that's when we do the check. Like, hey, Dylan, are you right by me? Like, yeah. And you're like, okay, good. But now when I see you guys just walking slowly, I'm gonna go hide because I don't even know too if they because enemies when you hide in closets or whatnot, they can find you and kill you. I don't think those people, the clones, can. I don't know if they could.
No, if you once you evade them once, they just leave.
But I meant like if they were walking to you and there was a closet right beside you, got in, you think they would just bypass you? The clones, they wouldn't do the open up.
I
think if
If they
they
saw
s-
you, they probably would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. So just run, just run.
Just run.
So I pulled up the enemy types just because I had to know. Apparently they're called the Night Watchers, and yeah, it's like an enemy with a hatchet that has the night vision goggles on them. Keep
Oh,
an eye out
that's
for
right. That's
those
not the
ones.
fake guys. That's the other guy.
No, those are the imposters. is
I
what
was
they're
like, I
called.
kind of like that name.
The Night
for
Watchers
for
are the other ones.
imposters, the
Yeah.
Night-
So then there was that one mission with the gates that were like opening and closing all on their own, and we had to wait. Yeah, that map was full of those Night Watchers.
Yeah.
because they were just so fucking annoying.
It's usually like a main area that's kind of dark. I feel like when they have not just like a spot in the room that's dark, it's mostly like an area that's dark. They'll kind of patrol in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so far the levels, I mean, we mentioned like maybe we wish there was a bit more, but once again, maybe we just have to unlock some more. I thought all of them have been great so far. Like the way that they're designed, it seems like every room has multiple entrances or exits. You know, like you can either jump through a window or smash through a door, or maybe one of the doors will be locked or locked from one side. Maybe it's like you can crouch through a part that's like broken in the wall. Certain things unlock as the level goes through, and then you're kind of unlocking shortcuts to earlier areas. Like they're all very intricate in that way, and I think that also adds to the replayability because sometimes you'll have different missions in the same level, but it will be like reversed or kind of like maybe you'll use part of one of that earlier level, but then it like locks off other parts of it. So I think they did a good job of like reusing some of those areas, especially if it has like a fun aesthetic. So you get to try it out multiple times. So I'm very impressed with the levels, and that's where I just hope there's more because there's like the prison level, there's a theme park, of course, there's the orphanage, which is a really fun setting.
Yeah.
And then
Crackers and juice.
was it a sex toy factory that we're in? We had to destroy all these. It
I
must
think
have been,
so
right?
with the nuns and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like a sex toy / church because there's like a little church in the yard, right? So it's like
True.
what a scenario, and I don't know what
a
they're trying to
very
paint there, but yeah, there's lots of very scantily clad nuns hanging around. So yeah, there's and they go for it with the sex toy stuff. There's yeah,
Yeah,
unspeakable.
As you mentioned, a lot of nudity in this game, a lot of really
Yes.
just grotesque, gross body horror, freaky stuff for sure.
We're always
I
saying
guess-
more cocks. There's lots of penises in this game, you know, tons of them.
Definitely. And, you know, on that note, like, the Skinner Man is this other concept that I really enjoy,
Oh.
where there's like psychosis is like one of the main, I guess, the main debuff in the game, where either you walk through a door and you'll just get stabbed by a psychosis stick, or there's certain enemies that have psychosis. You can open a med kit and there'll be like psychosis shooting out. And just no matter what you do, you're always going to get hit by it. And then that kind of builds up. And once you hit, well, you start tripping out more and more. But once you hit that max level, the Skinner Man will start coming to come get you. And like the walls kind of close in with like weird shrapnel and stuff. And he like can teleport around. And that is always terrifying because I don't know. I'm sure there's a way to like outrun him or a good tactic, but I don't know what it is. So I'm just always running frantically and naturally making a bunch of noise,
yeah.
and then I'm getting other enemies on me. So it's always like, goddamn, anyone have an antidote? And sometimes we're all out of antidotes and we can't find them anywhere, and so multiple people are just stuck with it. It's a really great debuff, like the trippy effects they have on it too, that they distort the level. Like even the screamer enemy that like makes the level all fucked up, so it's hard to see where you are. I think they have really good use of like those effects that add to the terror of it because you can't find your way as easily.
He comes at the worst times, I feel too. Like when when you get the full, like you can deal with the 1-2 bars because you just gotta, as long as you see him run, maybe he'll get you a little bit. But there's so many times where it's like, Travis, what are you doing? Like we gotta unlock the door. It's like, man, I'm getting effed up by the Skinner Man right now. Like I can't help you at all because it's like you have to run or you have to find an antidote. Now when you're near the end of the game, it's like you've been through all the rooms, everyone's used them already. You just gotta move, and he is relentless. He will not stop. You can't like hide in the dark. You just gotta outrun him till this like little run of his is done. So yeah, that's what I love. Multiple threats between the big enemies, like the Skinner Man, the Night Crawlers, Night Watchers. You had our clones. Like so many different threats going on with different layering degrees of how you could avoid them, or because like Skinner Man, you can't. I'm assuming, Kirkland, have you ever tried to hit a stun on him? Can you do the big stun on the Skinner Man? I'd assume it doesn't work.
I have actually, because I don't think like you can't brick him or anything. So I imagine you just gotta flee like down the door.
And even the psychosis people, they're like not there to attack you. They're just they're always walking around just to spray you, right? Like
spritz,
you'll see them, you'll run, and they're just sauntering. They're not. It's just kind of like if you were playing. I don't know if it would be like octopus tag when someone gets tagged and they're the octopus and they can just stay there. And that's what these spritzers are like. They'll get you if they're around, but if you avoid them, you're good. They're not really a hassle at all. But what always happens, you'll take one wrong corner, you bump into him, and then he's like, and it's like, oh man, damn. Or the worst is when you get one of the guys on you, like that's another threat. There's like barrels or stuff. People jump out and just like be choking and you're gonna mash off. And then when you go and the guy spritz you, or there's some traps that if you're in them long enough, they spritz you too, right? I think the ones that stab you at the cross.
Yeah, there's like I'm pretty sure that gives you like a bar of psychosis. Like anytime you get hit by a trap, I imagine it would add to it. But there's like sometimes you'll open like a first aid kit box, and if you stand there, like if let me rephrase that. If you open it and then leave like the spot, the spritz will come out. It's like delayed by a couple seconds, so you can kind of avoid it in that sense. But there's so many times when I'm just looting and I'm like, oh, there's 2 rechargers here. I'm like, grab, and then next thing you know, I'm just taking in the green smoke. And it's interesting how it's not just like a set, like the second I open it, I'm just hit with the psychosis. Like there is kind of a mini game in that sense. I do like how they have that. And on the Skinner Man aspect, I love how like it's so personal too. Like Travis will be getting hit with the Skinner Man, and I'm like, what the fuck's the matter with you? Like, why are you running around? And then like his screen is just literally like a scene from hell, where it's just like the ceilings are bleeding black and the Skinner Man just popping out of the ground. And to me, I'm just seeing him like run around like there's nothing to it. I really like how they added that mental aspect, because I don't think the second game had it. The first game definitely didn't in Outlast. The only game that I'm really thinking of that has something like that, maybe someone else will know, but like Amnesia, how they have like that mental aspect to it,
the paranoia. And like,
yeah, exactly. It's just an interesting game mechanic to have, and to have it in a multiplayer game, I feel like they've really found a healthy balance as to how it works.
Especially I'd say the first night, even the second night, when you've not got the whole experience of the Skinner Man, so you're just trying to explain what's happening and everyone just looks at you like you're an idiot. It's just like, okay, like it can't be that bad. But I'm like, no, especially when there's times where you'll get locked in a room and you're watching a cutscene and your psychosis still be popping off then, and like Kirk said, you're running around, and until you experience it, you're just like, okay, can't like you figure it out, like get an antidote, like just hide somewhere. But it's like, no, man, like this guy's after me. And I remember, I think it was like the second mission we did, I was the first one to get it, and I was trying to focus and do tasks with you guys, but I couldn't. I was just on the run the whole time, and we didn't know about the antidotes really yet. So yeah, it was it's a fun time.
It had taken me a little while to get like full psychosis up too, so I really thought like the full length of the Skinner Man was like, that 1 or 2 bar that you get where it kind of like warps for a second. You see him like pop up, move, and then kind of disappear. But yeah, like Travis was saying, until you actually experience it, it's a whole nother level of fear. I feel like my funniest memory with Travis getting hit up by the Skinner Man was I think the last time we were playing, Dylan and I were like in a room. Dylan opened the door, and Travis's character is just like holding his head, and just like blood is gushing out, like blood was just gushing out of him like crazy, and he's just like sprinting down the hallway, and Dylan's just like, "You okay, man?" Like, oh no, what a visual! But yeah, some funny moments.
Good stuff. What else could we talk about here? The puzzles. I mentioned earlier that like I think once again, if this was a single player game, I'd probably get pretty frustrated by some of these, because I think it's a good thing that this game does not have much guidance. Once you're in a level, like there's an objective, but it doesn't tell you necessarily where that is. Eventually, you do get some quest markers, but other times it's like really unclear. what
Find
you
the
have to
key,
do.
and that's
Yeah.
it. In a huge building, it's like, okay.
We've had a couple moments, like I think that barn level where we all for like 10, 15 minutes, we're just all looking around, had no idea like what we were supposed to do. And so
Or
that
the
kinda
reels,
Oh,
too,
man, the
man.
movies,
Those sucked. Yeah.
Yeah, so that happens sometimes, but I think for the most part, it seems like there's pretty good variety in the things you're doing there. And like most of the puzzles or like mini games you're doing are like simple but fun enough. Like I don't know, I like the lock picking mini game because it's quick, but like you can still mess it up and you don't want to because if you miss it once, like sometimes that 2 seconds that it takes to redo it again could be enough for like an enemy to creep up on you. But like I don't know, the one where you have to like balance out the frequencies,
Oh.
or the one where you have to, the one that really we struggle with is like following the guy with the bomb on his head.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
How some people have the scanner and some people have the detonator. I think that's really great when they have more of those puzzles where two players kind of have to work in coordination with each other because we weren't doing that. And then eventually when we were working together, then it started to make a whole lot more sense. But yeah, like I don't think any individual one of them is like some all-time great puzzle or anything, but just the combination of them. And once again, the variety, because it seems like it'll always, even the keys that we had to get when we redid that level again, you get like different symbols that you're looking for and they'd be in different locations. So I think there's a good enough randomness there with the variety of things you're seeing. But yeah, I kind of forgot about those reels, but yeah, those were a mess to figure out the first time.
Oh, and especially some of these, and I think that is a good. It is a good thing with the game. I guess we never got to that point. Luckily, I think it would be frustrating, especially with the reels. If there's some rooms you have to do things where you need your binoculars, and if you're just out of batteries,
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of screwed. So I think there could be some way, even if you had some sort of like, there's a room where you could even recharge your goggles, but there's enemy types, so you have to time in a way. Because then I think it just wouldn't be fun, and you just have to start over, really, right? If there's stuff where you need the goggles and
Yeah.
you can't use them, then like those reels, I was at one point we were trying to figure it out. I remember I was done, and luckily Kirkland figured out. But I was like, I've been in this room for like 5 minutes, and I can't find anything. I don't know what to do here. So I think there is a pretty, like, if I were to rank it, I think it's like an 85% good, 15% bad, where there's a few things where I wish they'd be like a little more, like the mission we did before, Dylan, you got on. We were in a factory and we had to find these keys, and it was just literally like you just found them randomly, which can be fun, but at the same point, when we're like, okay, it's 40-minute mission and it's maybe 15 to 20 was just, have you checked this room? Have you checked this room? And that's where you start to get maybe not as fun, right? Because then it almost reaches that level of, okay, give some sort of hint, just saying, oh, it's in upstairs. Like, well, there's fucking 10 rooms upstairs and it's like dark, right? It's not like 10 rooms that are clear with lights on, no enemies. It's like, so there's pros, but for the most of the times, I think, like you said, it works when there's the four of us. I feel like if I was playing that solely, I would get very frustrated or just kind of, oh, this is lame, I'm gonna kind of tap out now, because it's like, did I check this room? Or that 40 mission could, I don't know, like Taylor's playing missions that are taking him half an hour, so it could be 80 minutes, I don't know. God.
Yeah, I feel like I'm completely aligned with you on the 85-15 split, just because it is satisfying. Like when you do solve it, it's nice. It's not just like go to this direct spot and just hit this button and the door will open. Like there is somewhat of a challenge to it, and then you throw in the enemy types that are littered throughout the map too that just add to the challenge. But it's not so much like we're failing because we're just not figuring it out. Like we are able to kind of kill time. It might just take a while until we do eventually figure it out. But it's not like we just keep dying and it's like I have no idea what to do. Like we're able to kind of flee in that sense. Maybe, when you're doing the harder levels, you kind of need to know what you're doing. But maybe that's a good thing that it does go over like some of the same areas and some of the same mechanics. Like it introduced some of the puzzles in a digestible matter, not so much like it's just impossible to get through. Because anytime that we've like been defeated, it's not because we can't figure out the puzzle. It just maybe there is some puzzles that are reoccurring or a little bit more annoying. Like I'm not a big fan of the box one. Travis can speak to my box usage.
Oh, the conveyor
conveyors.
belt, yeah.
Oh my
Kirkland
God.
had
I
a full
was annoyed
50
with
more
that one
minutes
by
to
the
our
end of it.
mission.
Well,
Jeez.
that was one of those ones for me that, not having any, I don't necessarily need a full-on tutorial, but having no guidance, I was like, intuitively, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do in this moment. And it just says destroy the box. Like that could mean anything. Like
Yeah.
And so yeah, to have to pick up them from a specific spot, put them on this one conveyor, maybe two before it actually gets to the room to destroy it. Like I was I was very confused on that one, so I was just meandering around picking locks and trying to keep myself busy and that, to some extent it's good that I like if something just doesn't make sense for my brain, I was just like, fuck it, you guys can figure this one out. I'll go do something
Absolutely,
else.
yeah.
So,
There's
I'm
many
sure we all had a
times.
moment like that where we're like, I don't
Oh,
get
yeah.
this. You guys can figure it out. I'm gonna
I-
go sit on the couch.
Definitely the reels. Then something else at one point. I just checked out. Like I'm just gonna loot and find stuff, and if I need to help,
Watch out for enemies.
yeah, or be like the call me if you need a distraction. There was one map completely. I'm just gonna run distract people because I think it was the boxes at first, and then honestly, I think I just got upset that Kirkland was taking so long. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go figure this out, and then I figured it out because then you were taking so long, and then Taylor went into C room, and then he ran out. I was like, yeah, there's nothing in there. It's like, well, we need a box from C, so there has to be something in there. So I'm like, oh, I did the Thanos. Like, fine, I'll do it myself. But for the first 15 minutes, they got it. I don't really understand. I'm just gonna run and distract. And then it was like 15 minutes later. It's like, okay, we've gotten one box, and Taylor can't find any. And Kirkland tells us one's on the conveyor belt, but I don't really believe him.
Okay, my strategy there was to just get the boxes that we need on the final conveyor because it's not going to bounce off of that conveyor. It's going to be on there, so we could just kind of find them all. The big lady is in that. She's in the conveyor room. Like I can't just go in there and grab it. And then Travis forced me to go do it. What happens? I get knocked down like 3 times by her trying to get this one box.
Well, we needed it.
We ended up getting it.
Yeah,
in the
we
end.
did
I
it,
think
so.
what ended up happening with that one too, it actually wasn't on the last conveyor. I think I put it on like the second last conveyor. I'm like,
some
oh,
of
it's
them,
on
yeah,
there. It's
need
totally
multiple
yeah.
to daisy chain a little bit. Yeah, one thing we haven't mentioned is, well, we mentioned it briefly, is the batteries and the darkness. Of course, this game is very dark, as a lot of these kind of horror games are. But I think it's another great bar, just like the health bar or the psychosis bar, that you got to manage in this. And yeah, sometimes if you just run out of batteries in this game, that is a terrifying thing. And once again, if you're on a level for a very long time, that'll very likely to happen. But I've found myself a couple times where I'll just realize that, like, man, I've just had my light on for like 30 seconds and I've just been out in a bright room. Like I feel bad about that. I'm like, man, I've wasted this precious resource. But yeah, I even remember, I think it was like maybe on that barn level once again, where we were all ready to leave. There was enemies everywhere. We had just completed the goal, so we're all trying to get the hell out of there. Kirkland, I think, has like full psychosis, and he has no lights.
Oh,
so he's
yeah,
just like
that's
in
terrifying.
some random room, has no idea how to get out. So I don't know if one of us went back to kind of hold your hand, help you through there. But I think that's a great mechanic in this game. It's a fun bar to manage and adds to the intensity of it. And yeah, sometimes it's just like complete darkness, and you turn the light on, and there's an enemy like right in front of you, and you just didn't know the whole time. So always that little bit of fear in the back of your head too. Is there anything that you guys missed from the first game? Anything in here that you're like, oh, that was a great mechanic or a great idea from the first one that it's too bad they didn't transition it over to the third one here?
I think it'd be fun if they could incorporate a level with the camcorder somehow, but that's kind of what the goggles are in a sense of like a light, battery, and everything. So I feel like for me, not really, just because they're just so different, right? That first game's that soul experience where you're learning some story, point A to point B, where this, I don't know if there's anything left that they could have brought over that wouldn't have felt maybe a little clunky. And maybe what I like is that soul stuff, the camcorder, if they would have acted that into the solo missions we have to do, right? Like the reagents, maybe you could have done that so you kind of get your fill. But honestly, no, I think for me, I'm happy. Like it's like enough, but it's its own thing as well. So
Yeah, I don't think I would really change anything. The first game, I think, was a little bit more vertical than what this one was. Like they had, air quotes, parkour mechanics, was mostly just grab, reach this ledge, move over, grab the next one. But I don't think I would really like that in a game like this. I think the overall movement is really nice. Like I was mentioning earlier, like they have the slide that the first game had. Yeah. Of course, it's a perk, but it's a tier 1 perk. Kind of everyone gets that pretty early on. So, and like you are kind of able to jump around through like terrain, like Dylan, you're mentioning, like the windows you can jump through. But it's not like there's just this one set window that you have to be in this one spot, hit A, to like get over and activate that animation. Like it is kind of free in that sense, which is nice because you can kind of get creative with your escape paths some ways.
It's really obvious which doors are locked too, which is nice for navigation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think all the movement is really good. So there really isn't any like main mechanics or like just feel. Feel is different because it's a single player, horror survival, whereas this one's a team aspect. Now, I guess one thing that the first game had that this one doesn't is like vents, which
Oh,
can be like very terrifying, I guess, if you go into an event and there's like a way for an enemy to get in there, but it's also a way of escape. Like maybe they could incorporate that in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it is a thing, you know, in some of the later levels that we haven't explored on our own. But from my knowledge, at least in the first game, there never really was enemies in there. Like there might be a jump scare at one point in the vents, but it's mostly like it's just a way to get to another area of the map. So it's not so much like a gameplay mechanic like how what's it called, Alien Isolation has, where like there can be, you know, the alien in the vents and that aspect. So maybe that's something, but I don't know, maybe that would be terrifying and a negative.
Yeah, I just wish that things were a little bit more jump scary. I mean, there's times where you're walking and a guy under a desk will just grab your leg, and then I don't get scared. I just think, ah, fuck, now I got to button mash. That's probably one of the biggest things I wish I could change, is just being genuinely frightened more in certain situations. That's probably
Too
what
tough.
I miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, too tough. Yeah,
I'm certainly terrified in certain moments of this
yeah.
game.
I
Definitely,
think for me,
sure.
like it's kind of maximum scary for how scary a co-op thing could be. You know, where like I kind of have my volume low so I can hear you guys, and like I'm not fully immersed in it because I'm talking to you guys at the same time, or we're laughing or joking about things. So I don't know. I still get those moments, but I can definitely see where you're coming from here. Where naturally the co-op angle to this takes away the horror element to it. Where like I don't know, Texas Chainsaw has like a few moments like that too, where it can get freaky, but that's just based on like I don't know, you're about to die or something. But it never really feels like that true horror experience. So yeah, but that makes sense. That's definitely like tonally gonna be something that's a lot different than that OG game. Anything else we haven't talked about yet?
Mother Gooseberry is a good villain to have in there. The cop as well, but I feel like Mother Gooseberry really fits.
She the
one's
one, the
that?
puppet.
Yeah,
She-
I
yeah,
I only know her
Oh,
name
okay.
because I pulled it up. You're calling her all sorts of names while we were playing her.
Crackers and
But like
Crackers,
the
yes.
first game, don't really remember the second game, but the first game definitely had some just iconic main enemies that would be reoccurring, like the big dude with just like the fucked up mouth. Like that was like the big brute that
What's
was
his name?
always. It was actually Chris something. So
Chris
my father's
something.
name. So
Yeah.
there you
He
go.
was once a normal man.
But it's mostly just his look was so terrifying because he just didn't have lips and his face was all like stretched out and he just was terrifying, this massive brute. So it has the same sort of feel when you see her because you can see the silhouette even if you like if it's dark, like you can't see her features. You can see her hunched over with the fucking bird in the air.
Yeah,
like,
or she's
oh, I'm
laughing in some
fucked.
room.
Yeah, when she's on your
fucking
ass,
so
she's
fast,
making
Nun's
noise.
body
Yeah.
with her puppet.
Yeah, no, I really have nothing else. I think if you like horror games, whether it is a jump scare, which I agree to, maybe there could be a bit more, but for the most part, I enjoy in this setting of what they are, or grotesqueness. I think this is a kind of a must play. If you're thinking about waiting for it, then definitely around Halloween time, pick it up. As I've said, you could probably still have a good time with this alone. I think I'd still enjoy it, but it's tough because I started with playing with these guys. So I feel like, again, even if you could have one person, you know, or find a Discord, like some like groups of people, like something like, I think this game, as far as having a chat, having a communication, a shared experience, and maybe it's tough now because you probably played some, but it's definitely one of my favorite co-op games we've ever done. Because I think there's some games we try out and like, okay, that was good, but I feel like now every week I'm like, man, I want to get back in there. And like we said, maybe once that'll stop if we've learned that it is just all the same missions a bit harder. And I'll still want to do it because I'd like to complete them, get better grades. And I feel like every once in a while there'd be that itch, but still, as far as this opening and whatnot, every week I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to get back in there and just see what next adventure we go on. And even then, like I said, there's not like a big storyline or narrative, but I appreciate all the mini stories they give each level. They didn't even need to do any of that, right? They could just make gross stuff, but whether it is the church, the nuns, the servants, the sex toys, the bird, whatever, motherly something, like I feel like they have
The
nice gooseberry. Yeah, they got all really good gimmicks going on. So yeah, I'm really happy with this, and I'm really happy that it's Outlast is a bit more positive. I'm curious to see where this kind of goes next, whether it's with this game, what's left for the franchise. So yeah, so far 1 and 3 have different spots in my heart, but I've enjoyed them all. So definitely, if you got a group of people, I highly recommend you get this game. So
Nice. Taylor, any final thoughts or prayers?
I mean, I think it's really, really awesome that we finally get to experience this in a co-op setting. and I really can't think of any other major cons. Like you already mentioned it, that the game is pretty smooth. There are no glitches or any bugs or anything like that, and it's been just a really, really good time experiencing this with you guys, and getting to see like some of the villains and just the world that this is expanded upon and created has been really, really good. I'm just excited to see where we're going to go from here and what other missions we unlock, new locations, if there's other new villains that we're going to be experiencing and facing off against. And just that there's still stuff to discover too that I really like, whether that being like the loadout stuff that we just figured out literally like our second day or our third day, like
Slippers, hell yeah.
Yeah, slippers. Yeah, your microphone, Travis. There's just a few things that I'm really, really enjoying.
That was smooth. The laugh wasn't as much smooth. Yeah. No, thank you. I was gonna say, Taylor, because you said you're excited to see what more you can open up. Other than the loadouts, are you disappointed if it was just this amount of missions and they just get harder, like the ones we've done?
I would be.
Yeah.
And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this was all that we get. But I do hope that we could maybe see some DLC in the future. But it depends how strong the player base is for this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, true enough. No, this has been a lot of fun, and this is definitely a game that I think you'll get many updates here on Sidequest, as we'll probably play again this weekend. So maybe even me and Kirkland will share some more thoughts on next week's episode. But yeah, thank you everyone so much for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye bye.